I'm here to have an adult conversation.
Because I'm going to bust you in lie after lie after lie.
Who gon' take it there? 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 Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in
All right, so Jillian Michaels had Sam Seder on her show to do a debate on the issue of USAID. This was something that came about because Jillian Michaels, as a lot of right-wingers have done, was saying, geez, none of these guys on the left want to debate me. And Sam Seder, as he has done many times, said, I'll debate you. And so it resulted in this debate. There was a little bit of drama surrounding it. And in the beginning of it, Jillian brings up that the Vanguard, she plays a clip of the Vanguard showing this email that she put out publicly to Sam Seder, and the Vanguard played that clip and said, send her a message if you want to, if you're feeling crazy or whatever. And she got like some crazy threats because of that, and that's not cool. They shouldn't have done that, in my opinion. But also that has nothing to do with Sam. She was saying, like, these are your supporters, why are they doing this? So that's the main thing I want to focus on, is how this segment was produced, because they go over a lot of different things, a lot of different facts are thrown back and forth. I'm going to show you a decent amount of that. But the main point that I want to make is that the production of this Jillian Michaels segment is honestly terrible. It's confusing. Sam is able to get her to start talking about USAID rather than going through a whole list of clips where he's saying this or that, and I'm going to fact check you on this. She even says, I'm going to bust you in lie after lie. So that's her approach to this conversation. And to be fair, when it comes to Sam, he does that a lot. He mocks people on his show and he throws random stuff out there. So I'm just saying, if you are going to go have a conversation with somebody, they might pull what Jillian did and compile a bunch of that stuff in order to make you look bad faith to their audience. So if you're not going to talk to people like that and you're going to, just discredit them and avoid them, that's fine. And that's been a large part of Sam's strategy. But if you are going to talk to them, I think that, you should try to avoid stuff like that, because it makes the conversation a lot more confusing. Now, getting that out of the way, because it is on Jillian Michaels that she's the one that chose to approach the conversation this way, that's really what I want to focus on. I'll start with, we're going to move past all the stuff where she tries to like concern troll him with previous clips and stuff, although I'll touch back on that. But in this first clip, she's trying to make the point that Sam laughed off the idea of her saying that Iranians are protesting in the streets of America, saying that Mamdani is like Khamenei when he came into power in Iran during the Iranian Revolution. So you'll hear it in the clip, but here's that, and this is just an example of the kind of strategy that she's taking here.
You've seen Iranian people in the streets here telling everybody, listen to what we are saying to you. Mamdani sounds like the Ayatollah.
Wait a second. There are Iranian people in the U.S. in the streets of the U.S. saying that Mamdani sounds like the Ayatollah?
I'm assuming in 1979, like they're saying, like leading up to the revolution?
I guess.
What? No, the Ayatollah was in exile in Paris, I believe, when the revolution hit.
I mean, the people that have a lot of credibility right now is the conservative Iranian diaspora. Yeah, let's see what they have to say.
And I would like for some specifics about what Mamdani has said that makes him sound like the Ayatollah.
A lot of people picked their Mamdani 47 years ago in Iran, which was Khomeini at that time. If you watch if you just listen to what Mamdani said in New York, it's verbatim what Khomeini said 47 years ago.
What is the argument? That
here's the argument.
In offering free buses,
that's not the argument.
Is like the Ayatollah.
You're more than welcome, by the way, to have that argument with me. But the fact is,
let's not talk about let's have that argument. What communist policies has Mamdani proposed?
This is what they are citing, Sam. What they are saying is that the parallels.
What Islamist policies? Answer.
Sam, he's a Muslim, correct? Is he a Muslim?
So this is a good example of what she's doing here, where she's saying, okay, you mocked me for saying this thing about Iranians in the streets, but it was true. There are Iranians in the streets saying that. What Sam was mocking is that that's a stupid thing to say, and he also does dismiss the idea that there are actually protesters out there saying that. She did have a source to point to. Turns out it's some random ass clip from like a source that she doesn't even know where the fuck that came from. It's just like a short form clip. It's straight up propaganda. Matt Leck in the clip says says, are we really trusting the opinion of the conservative diaspora of Iran, people that essentially fled during the revolution or whatever? Look, that's a whole other political conversation, but that was the point that was being made there. So Sam is trying to cut through it and say, I don't really care about you trying to nail me to the wall about me sort of making fun of your framing on the subject. Let's talk about the issue at hand. Is Mamdani meaningfully some kind of Islamist socialist and saying the same things that Khamenei said? So in the case of free buses or something, that was something that was promised during the Iranian Revolution, and there are people that have pointed that out. But the point is that was in the case of an actual revolution happening, and she is specifically the person on the streets in the clip is talking about like nationalizing the oil industry and stuff, which is not what Mamdani is talking about. Their point they're focusing on is free buses, because that was a promise that was also made by the revolutionaries, but in completely different context. Mamdani is just offering to be voted into office and give people free fucking buses. It's really not that revolutionary, like, at all. So that's a good example of the type of framing that we're getting here. But more so, the really interesting thing here is that over and over again, what Jillian is doing is she's citing AI. She cites AI all throughout this entire conversation. She's dropping in little clips of it, and she's using it to bolster her points. But not just in a way of like, oh, I'm taking the information from that, or I'm using that to go find certain articles. She's literally just showing the AI result on the screen. And in some cases, repeating from what the AI is telling her, literally just reading it out. So that is the main issue that I have here, because there's, like I said, a lot of information gets thrown back and forth. I don't think that Jillian Michaels makes no points here, but I think that her entire framework is like very confused. And overall, the main point that I want to make, because I hope that she might hear this, I hope somebody passes this along to her, but this segment, the way it was produced, is incredibly confusing. Partially because of the AI, partially because she tried to front load it with all those clips, and the only reason they got past that is because Sam forced the conversation back onto USAID. But also dropping in all this AI stuff and quickly flipping it past the screen in order to bolster your point just sends the conversation in a million different directions. It's incredibly confusing, and just citing the AI that way completely discredits your point. The fact that you're just literally reading out AI outputs is 100% discrediting. I'm going to give you an example. This is where they start to get into the USAID stuff. You'll see an example of the type of points they're making, as well as the way Jillian is going about constructing her points.
I'm here to have an adult conversation.
You're not. You are.
You're just.
I think you're in a free fall, because I'm going to bust you in lie after lie after lie.
That's great.
So in the article,
let's start at the beginning.
That is the beginning. That's
we
USAID.
were on Piers Morgan. Mm-hmm. You said to me that when I brought up that there were going to be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people over the course of the next decade who are going to die because of cuts in USAID. Your words to me were, quote, and I'm sure you have it, whatever number it is.
I do.
Your words, that's a red herring.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said to me, read a book.
And if you had, I think you'd know what I was talking about.
You remember what book it was?
Save 3 Lives by Rodale.
Yes. I did read that book.
Did you? Then you should.
I bought that book.
Okay.
I have it right here.
It got worse.
All of those operations that you supposedly had a problem with USAID have been moved over to the USDA.
I'm well
All
aware.
All of that stuff is still happening. But
yes,
what is not
I
happening
know.
Is
that's my point.
People are not getting they're not getting like TB fighting drugs.
Yes, they are, Sam. That waiver was on the 28th of January.
That's PEPFAR.
There was a blanket.
Was the PEPFAR waiver.
PEPFAR
and
was,
that waiver.
And then
2.3,
and then 2.4
right here in my hand that talks about the fact is that even after the waiver was issued,
it took a few weeks.
Screwed up the supply side, the logistics stuff, that they still having problems. PBS just wrote a piece on this actually. Maybe it was in March about how they are actually seeing deaths, extensive deaths, in as a function of.
Send it to me because I did a ton of homework on this.
Uganda, April 22nd, sees spike in disease-related deaths after elimination of USAID from PBS.
That's been moved over to the State Department, though, Sam. It isn't eliminated. All of that was done on 1/28, a blanket waiver for life-saving aid.
It shut everything down. I'm sorry.
On 1/28, it was a blanket waiver was given. Okay.
That this will produce 14 million additional deaths by 2030.
Let's go through that. Can we do that? Can I address your 2 studies?
Sure.
Okay. So number one.
Well, that's
you've
not
got
a study.
two.
This one's not a study.
They're modeling.
This one is direct reporting. No. By PBS on the ground in Uganda.
That 14 million people have died? The 14?
No. That people were dying in Uganda because of the destruction of USAID.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna start with your first study. Okay. So you claim numerous times that 600,000 people have died. All right. So first of all, that's a model. It's not. Here's what it is not. Are you ready? A death registry, confirmed bodies, forensic evidence, a WHO mortality census.
Okay, I wanted to stop it here because here is where you can really see that she's reading off a piece of paper that she has in front of her, and she's reading, this is a list of everything that it's not. So she's saying that the source that Sam is talking about, which mentions a few deaths, documented deaths of young children, and is really documenting a larger problem of the fact that these structures are not being funded, so the whole system is falling apart. She says, well, here's a list of what it's not. It's not a death registry. It's not an official death toll, blah, blah, blah. So that is large language model phrasing. So she's literally just reading off of an output, not just saying like, tell me what's in this article, although during this clip you can see that she is literally just citing, scrolling through the outputs of a large language model and using that to tell you what's in these articles. This is such an abdication of any type of fact-based anything that it's like actually appalling. She could have just stayed on the concern trolling thing the whole time and she wouldn't have stepped on her own points as much as she's doing by doing this, because the AI is actually shaping the output to confirm her bias, because that's what these AIs do. So that's the only reason it would give you a list of things that the article is not. Just think about that for a second. She's listing off, these are all the things that it's not. That's not helpful information. It's only doing that because that's what AIs do. They compile statistically similar language. So she's reading that off to her audience as though it's providing them some kind of value, but it's not. All you have to do is just go look at the fucking article. And there's a lot of production that has gone into this segment, dropping in these AI clips and showing all this different stuff, and almost none of it is the actual text from the sources that are being cited. And yet over and over again, she's going rapidly through points and showing you AI outputs that do not bolster the point that she's making, or at least require a lot more scrutiny and investigation. So here's some more examples of that, and then I'll wrap it up.
These things were reassigned. There is no...
No. First off, they were not all reassigned. And secondly,
they weren't.
It's one thing to get a waiver, but if you have undermined the entire logistical side, if all the contracts are canceled, are you saying that the majority of the USAID budget was just bloat and corruption?
Bloat and corruption that Elon Musk is referencing. He was very clear, by the way, that he didn't want to cut food aid.
Wait, are you going to try and argue to me that DOGE was somehow successful? It's universally considered an absolute failure.
Well, let's talk.
We didn't save any money. The budget
we did save money, not nearly as much. You're absolutely right.
We didn't save a dime.
Can we get
not
into
a dime? The way they went about this was just the most ham-fisted way. They used AI just to look at contracts and willy-nilly. We just had a judge ruling the other day. Half the stuff is being reversed to the extent that it can be.
What I was trying to tell you is that food aid is not stopping. That is a narrative that they were leaning on to distract from other things that are really nefarious, like corruption in Haiti, in Afghanistan.
I am fully on board with, but nothing DOGE did in any way dealt with all of those things that you're talking about.
No, of course not. It helped a little. And I think, and if you listen to...
You have evidence of that, or is that your projection?
I'll give you two examples. So, guys, which SOT is it? SOT 13, where Elon Musk talks about what he was able to accomplish, I think.
Oh, wait a second. So we're gonna trust Elon Musk. We're concerned about the partisanship of somebody who's
he says there was
from Harvard is in the, or I should say,
it's
someone
BU.
who studies
Boston
from
University.
It's from the Lancet. And you're going to go to Elon Musk.
I'm going to go to Marco Rubio. I'm going to go to the State Department. What he talks about is he killed like 200. He created a code to kill zombie payments.
All right, so here's where I want to address her point, and I have to go through all this stuff pretty fast because I wanted to show a decent amount of this conversation. They went through a lot of stuff, and like I said, I didn't even get the beginning part where she was like trying to nail Sam about all the stuff he's lied about. But I'll get back to the production of the segment in a second. Essentially, the argument she's making here is that USAID cuts were something that was necessary. USAID is neo-colonialism. In other words, it's like a way to make these poorer countries dependent on the United States, which is an argument that some communists would make. She also says that the problematic parts of USAID were not cut by DOGE. So she thinks that structurally USAID is a problem because it sponsors big ag, but then all of that stuff being folded into the Department of Agriculture instead of being USAID is a good thing. She's using that to make the point to Sam, hey, Sam, they're not actually cutting the structural things. Sam is saying they only cut the structural things. They only cut the things that benefit people, and they kept the stuff that props up big agriculture. She's saying that she thinks the only stuff that was cut was waste, fraud, and abuse based on what Elon Musk told her because he created a code to kill zombie payments or some shit. And at this part where she's talking about how successful USAID is, the stuff that she's flitting across the screen is articles saying that this is the largest reduction in the workforce during peacetime ever. And spending kept rising. She's citing that as a way to bolster her point. She also cites something saying from last May, saying how much DOGE was saying it was saving people, ignoring the fact that we have blown past all of that. So in other words, we did not save a dime. Not a dime. We're spending more now. And this is why her argument doesn't make any sense, because she wants to point to neo-colonialism and say that's the problem, but then she admits that neo-colonialism is preserved by Elon Musk, but also saying that she believes Elon Musk when he had the right intentions to go in there and cut all the fraud and the waste. But she doesn't have any evidence for that. So she has an issue with Sam's articles and the projections, the models that are being done to try to predict and get a sense of how many people could die because of these cuts based on the ground evidence, structural knowledge, institutional knowledge. She doesn't like that, but she has no source to counter that, to say that actually not a lot of people are going to die because of this, or to make the argument she's making that all these gaps are going to be filled in by other money. There's no sources saying that. The only source that she has that Elon Musk only cut waste, fraud, and abuse is Elon Musk. That's ultimately the source she cites. And so there's a broader problem here of the type of information that she's taking seriously and what she's passing along as authoritative information. And I want people to pass this along to her. I really hope that she hears me say this, and don't harass her, don't insult her, because I genuinely want her to hear this, or somebody on her team. You cannot just repeat what a large language model says to an audience of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people as factually true. Aside from the fact that it made this segment incredibly confusing, all the different things that you're throwing at the audience without any explanation, some of it isn't really even that connected to what's being said, as well as these different segments where Jillian Michaels cuts in to over-explain something else that she looked up herself, all using AI outputs as the source. That's a problem because you cannot account for what the AI is actually saying. The AI is just compiling combinations of letters and trying to predict what you want it to say. And repeating that to the audience uncritically and just putting that out there as information, it confuses them. I think it's confused Jillian. I think she's confused herself and made her own content a lot more confusing because she's relying on this fact that she can just quickly look something up and there's the information right there. No. If you're going to take politics seriously, if you're going to be in political spaces discussing issues and information, I can tell from the segment she cares about these things on some level. We don't share a perspective, but she cares about this, and that's why she's presenting so much information. And what I'm saying is that you're doing it in the worst possible way. It's incredibly confusing, and you're shoveling a lot of shit at your audience, and I know that you are not fact-checking this information because if you were, you would just be providing the sources. All you have to do is click on the links and find the information that it's saying is in that link and then show the audience that. Because what you'll find a lot of times is that the AI is telling you things are in that source that aren't. Or they might be framing something in a way that's deceptive to you because it knows that that's a certain answer you're looking for. That's what it's designed to do. It is an absolute abdication of your responsibility as a communicator to use that type of shit as a way to bolster your points, at least so shamelessly. At least have the shame to go crawl through the source yourself and present that and not just AI outputs. I mean, come on, that's so fucking lazy.